Have you ever looked back at a relationship and realized just how much it shaped you? Not just the memories, but the way you see yourself, the choices you made, even the kind of adult you became. Some of those early connections, they leave imprints on us. And the truth is, some imprints make us stronger, while others carve grooves we spend years trying to climb out of. When you're a teenager, or even in your early 20s, you're still figuring out who you are. Your brain is literally still developing, especially the prefrontal cortex, which is the part that handles your judgment, your long-term planning, and your impulse control. That part of your brain doesn't fully develop until about 25. So then that part of your brain isn't fully mature until about the age of 25. Meanwhile, the emotional part of your brain, which is the limbic system and the amygdala, is way more active at this time. It's like the gas pedal develops before the brakes, which means when you fall in love young, your brain reacts intensely, almost addictively. On top of that, your identity isn't solid yet. Psychologists call this stage identity versus role confusion. You're trying to answer, who am I? What do I want? What do I stand for? And when you're in a relationship during that stage, those answers often get tied in with the other person to some extent. So when love is good, it feels like oxygen. And when it breaks down, it feels like suffocation. It's not just heartbreak. It's an identity crisis. Because if your sense of self was wrapped up in that relationship, losing it can feel like losing yourself. That's why the imprints are so deep. They're not just memories. They're grooves pressed into a brain that was still wiring itself. I've seen this happen so many times. Two people start dating young, and somewhere along the way there's some type of betrayal or hurt, maybe infidelity. They stay together anyway because it's easier than admitting the damage, or easier than letting go of the time that's already been spent and dedicated. And sure, they make it into adulthood still together, but the imprint of that betrayal never really fades. And now they're adults, grown adults, sitting in not an explosive or abusive situation, but it's not really like alive either. It's not thriving. It's just surviving. It's settling. And this is where it gets heavy. I've known people, multiple people actually, who didn't make it into adulthood at all because of this. They didn't make it past 25 because of relationship struggles. They ended their lives after fights with their boyfriend or girlfriend or breakup. That's why this conversation matters. Because when you've tied your entire identity to another person, when you don't have a strong sense of who you are outside of them, it can feel like the end of the world when that bond breaks. And sometimes it becomes the end of the world. So why does this happen in the first place? For a lot of us, it starts at home. If your parents didn't model a healthy relationship, if you grew up watching constant fighting or silence and distance or even abuse, then you never had a blueprint for what love should look like. You learned either to cling tightly so you wouldn't be abandoned, or to keep the peace so you wouldn't be hurt. Sometimes it's not even the fighting. Sometimes it's the absence. Parents who never showed affection, never taught communication, never showed how two people could disagree and still stay connected. If you never saw it, how would you know how to build it? Or maybe you yearned for that type of love too deeply for those same reasons. And then there are the parents who lost themselves in their own relationships. Kids notice that. They notice when their mom or dad doesn't have friends, hobbies, or an identity outside of their partner. And without realizing it, we carry that forward. I guess my point of making this video is this. My generation, I'll be 31 this year. I think we've got a responsibility to teach our kids something different. Like, the relationships we're in today are the ones our children are watching. We are modeling what love looks like, even when we don't mean to, just like some of our parents did for us. So, what do we need to teach them? First and foremost, self-love. That they are whole on their own before anyone else steps in. That love should add to their life, not take away, not erase it. That healthy relationships have boundaries, respect, and room for two people to grow. That conflict isn't the end, but betrayal, manipulation, or losing yourselves shouldn't be the norm. And here's another truth we rarely say out loud. Relationships, just like people, like places, like moments, are meant to be experienced. Not everything is meant to last forever. And that's not failure. That's life. We need to teach our kids that endings aren't the end of the world. Change doesn't erase the experience. It's part of it. When something goes away, it doesn't mean it wasn't real or valuable. It just means it was temporary, like most things in this life. The chances are that once you start teaching others about self-love and self-respect, boundaries, you'll start to heal a part of yourself too. Their futures might depend on it. You should very much not play about your happiness. It is important to remember that attachment styles are formed very young. And if we never learn more about them, or why we are the way we are, why we behave the way we do, then it can be very hard to break that cycle. But once we start to recognize our patterns and our behaviors and how they relate back to our early childhood, etc., then it becomes much easier to break those habits because you can finally see them for what they actually are. Every relationship leaves an imprint. Some press into you gently, shaping who you are. Others carve deep grooves that take years to climb out of. The question isn't whether they'll leave something behind, it's whether what's left is something you want to carry forward. And maybe the most important thing we can remember and teach is this. Losing yourself in love doesn't have to be the end of the story. Sometimes it's the beginning of finally finding who you are. And if we can model this truth that love is real, even when it doesn't last forever, then maybe the next generation won't have to treat every ending like the end of the world. Thank you for being here today. I'll see you next time. Bye.